European expansion, and why we should be going there, and why now.
Yeah.
It's us. We'll do some intros now. Martin, if you want to get started.
Yes, Martin van der Plas. I'm COO of Intellivy. Actually, our company has two divisions. One is Intellivy, where we do the market research, but we also have our own ecom department. There we are an eight-figure ecom operator. And what we do is we sell, actually, mostly our selling was US, but we are expanding to Europe. That's why we are on this thing. And very successful in ecom, also had some very difficult starts or difficult products there. So I think we know what it is to sell. And actually, Intellivy is built in the beginning as a tool for ourselves. So we wanted to do market research as an ecom seller, and we developed a platform. And then we decided to share it, and after sharing, to make it more professional and turn it into the platform it is now. So both ecom and the market research, we do both.
Amazing, perfect.
Yeah.
I'm Ted Gibson, founder and CEO of RippleEffect. Fundamentally, we're an Amazon agency, and with my background at Amazon in the UK, where I led the Pan-European FBA team, and then a stint afterwards in a large international agency, again helping big brands launch internationally. Developed the RippleEffect Method and launched my own agency, and it's a profit-focused system where we manage accounts, grow them internationally, get them into new markets, and grow them kind of long term at a profitable level. Last year, really great stat with 400% growth year on year for our client portfolio. So definitely doing something right. And yeah, recently partnered up with Martin and Intellivy, and we're now running these webinar series to talk about Europe. We've got a little offer at the end, which we'll go through. So if you hang around till then, you can hear that. But yeah, we worked very closely together after I saw the power of getting some of that qualitative customer insight for my clients, and I now weave that into what we do to iterate faster and get to market faster with new products and new markets. So we'll
Exactly.
jump in. So why Europe? Why now? The big T tariffs definitely are not going anywhere. There's another announcement coming up mid-November, I think November the 11th,
Yeah.
from the US off the back of the updated talks that have been going on with the US and other countries. I guess that's not guaranteed what sort of is at this stage, but we've had 4 or 5 big announcements this year already, which are causing enormous amounts of uncertainty, hitting profit margins all over the place, and basically making one country, and particularly US only businesses, if you are manufacturing in China or anywhere abroad generally, very difficult, and hitting the P&L in an already expensive place to scale on Amazon. And so new country diversification is now a route to not just profit, but growth.
What scared me the most, Ted, was that the last tariffs was not even had not anything to do with trade. I mean, it was a political. I mean, 150% to India or 50% to India. I mean, and that's just a political statement. So we haven't seen the end of this yet.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, interested from the group, if anyone wants to put in chat just a yes or no if they've been affected by the tariffs in any way. Always good to see the numbers on that. So yeah, new markets are now strategic levers. So tariffs are tariffs. They'll affect people in different ways. But also there's untapped opportunity in a lot of these EU markets. So the US is often very dominated by Chinese sellers in lots of spaces, and those sellers that aren't Chinese are often spending a lot of money on PPC and growth, and you're going up against those in lots of cases. In the EU, everything's a little bit easier, a little bit cheaper. Broadly, there's obviously outliers on that. But yeah, it's a great place to grow. The size of the prize is potentially smaller in terms of the category sizes are roughly 10 times smaller than in the US. But the opportunity for profitable growth, and Martin, you've got a good story on this,
Yeah, definitely.
is incredible.
It's also total different competition in the Europe than in the US.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Different brands,
Yeah.
and yeah, different sellers. And sort of linked to the tariff, I guess, that you can use Europe as a stepping stone or to circumnavigate the tariffs, in terms of your inventory placement as well. There's plenty of infrastructure for not just logistics, but also manufacturing and things
Mm.
there. So you can, I guess, long term optimize your business towards a super lean approach in those markets and really dominate. Anything else, Martin, do you want to add on that?
No, and it's also because it's like you say, it's a smaller market, but we also see it's less complex. I mean, with one of our products, we're in a best-selling position in the US. We grew a lot over the last 2 months, and all of a sudden, I get this thing that called low inventory fees, and I mean, when I look at all those hurdles, so to say, in the US, Europe is much easier and much more low key actually to tap into. So for us, it's really a very interesting market.
So some common blockers that what we both see across the uh, gamut of sellers and things that we work with.
Mm.
Some people are already in the EU, or the UK, and they're potentially not seeing the results that they want. That's often a question of looking at the system that you've built. Um, I normally go for a sort of bottom down approach, and that would very much start with polls and working with Intellivy to really understand what customers think about your product, how it looks, what competitors are doing well, that sort of thing. Martin, I don't know if you'd suggest anything else at that stage.
Now, what we hear a lot that is that people say, well, I entered Europe, and then what they actually did is they copy paste the US listing and then hope for results, and that's definitely not how it works. So that's where some disappointment comes from. Yeah, but like I said, if you dig in, you do really market research, you get your consumer insights. There's a whole new world opening up.
Mhm. Yeah, 100%. And that, I guess, ties into where would you launch? So which market makes sense for
Exactly.
you? There is a whole load of data and things out there that you can access through your standard, even your standard tools like Helium 10 and things like that. And I have
Yep.
heard of Amazon on Seller Central in the US even suggesting sales figures for international launches. They're always wildly higher than what I think is potentially possible, but they do suggest that, and we obviously help with scoping out the market, looking at opportunity sizes, and then yeah, from a customer perspective, working using polls and Intellivy to work out what customers think about your product and how they might react to it is very important. So even if it doesn't look like there's a category or a market for your product, that doesn't necessarily mean that customers don't want it. So I think it is worth looking at the polling side of things as part of that to make that decision.
Definitely.
Then I think the big one is just concerns around the actual process itself. So there's some big topics as part of that. VAT, sales tax is a big one, but one of the simpler ones, I think. So once you've decided on your markets and stuff, it's a fairly straightforward process. I think the trickier one would be around compliance, depending on your products, particularly if it's ingestible in any way, so a supplement or something like that. If there are any supplement sellers on the chat, just put your thumbs up or hands up or something, and we can reach out on that. But that can change things pretty drastically in terms of time frames and complexity. But again, completely comes down to your product.
Yeah. Same with the semi medical products. I mean, they are also quite the compliance is pretty pliable there.
And things like toys as well, and anything that
Yeah, same
kid,
there. Yeah.
kids can get their hands on.
Yeah.
So yeah, the opportunity in numbers. This is to give you a guide on yeah, essentially the size of the prize. As you can see, the US is enormous in comparison, but combined, Europe is
Bigger.
an exciting opportunity.
Yeah.
But it is fragmented, and there are similarities, I guess, between the different countries and the way different states within the US operate, particularly around things like FBA. But it does add complexities around sales tax and
Mm.
things like that. And the language is important. We'll touch on that later. But yeah, I generally see the UK and Germany as a similar level and size of market,
Yeah.
with France, Italy, Spain being slightly subsidiary to that. However, France, Italy, Spain, because they're maybe slightly less developed or smaller, there is often fewer competitors in those markets as well. So they can actually be surprising opportunities to win in. And then in terms of profitability, so yeah, we've been talking about this a little bit so far. So Europe can match US sales, but it is also more likely that your kind of net profit after you've taken out your various costs and things will be larger in some of these countries after you've got established. Got some category data there as well, just to show you what some of those look like. I've done US versus UK, which is the largest market in Europe, to give you some examples. But yeah, the classics there: health and personal care, home and kitchen. Some of the largest. Home and kitchen in the UK is a great one. If any of you are in that, feel free to drop a note in the chat as well. Um, with yeah, fashion and beauty being slightly smaller. Fashion's definitely still taking off in Europe, still with Amazon trying to push that quite actively. So how fast can you move? In terms of our process, generally you're looking at a 4 to 9 month on average launch time, and that's from a completely cold start. So there's some initial reviewing and making decisions and before jumping into the compliance side of things. That, as I said before, it completely depends on your product and can take much longer if you need to make larger changes to products and things like that.
Mm.
Then we'd look at logistics and that setup. Some of these we can do at the same time whilst we get set up on the VAT, EPR, and responsible person side of things, which we can manage all of that on your behalf. And then the Amazon setup, we'd plug back in with Intellivy at this point to start really honing in on things like content, translations, keywords, yeah, look and feel, branding, all of that sort of thing that's
Images.
gonna,
Yeah.
yeah, images which are going to get you set up for success. And then final stages, getting everything into FBA, setting pricing up and getting that launch going with PPC. I'll hand over to Martin now for some Intellivy insight.
Yeah, like I said, we think we can go one back at that. Like I said, we are sellers, e-com sellers ourselves, and that's where actually the whole thing started. And I want to share a little bit about our own journey here. When I entered Intellivy a couple of years ago, and in our company, it was really it was blasphemy to talk about expanding to Europe. I mean, we did everything in the US and really everything. Then when tariffs hit, actually, I took over from Mel Salau, both companies, about a year ago, being end responsible for both of them. And then tariffs hit, and we made the decision. We always said it was impossible, and we start expanding to Europe. And what we did is, you can go to the next one, Ted. We start doing our market research, and actually, we started in the UK. Like I said, it was the easiest start because we did not have to translate everything, and we could use a lot of our content that we use in the US. But when we start doing market research, we were so surprised in the UK. For our products, there's no middle market, and actually, when we looked at the pricing, Our market insight, consumer insights show that there was a huge opportunity for a very high price comparing to what we were used in the US. So we decide not to follow our intuition, but to listen to the consumer insights and to actually follow suit on our market research. Launched at an extremely high price in the UK. And yes, the market is smaller, but nowadays I've got days that we have UK sales with 500 units a day with a much higher revenue actually than the 2,000, 2,500 a day that we do with the same product in the US. And that really was market insight. Um, when we look at France, the French they are really keen on their language. Market insights show that everything needs to be French. I mean, every label, every statement, every discount thing you mean. I mean everything. And if not, they're not just keen on it, but really chauvinistic. So we figured it out and we start working on it. Turned the entire listing upside down, actually, also image-wise, because in the images we had some English statements that we had to really rephrase into French. Um, just share some insight from the Netherlands, and I'm always a little bit, how do I say, ashamed. We live in the Netherlands, so we should know, don't you think? But we start doing some market research in our home market. And it turned out that people say, well, have you ever thought about our transportation? I mean, most of us are riding our bikes from work, from home to work every single day. So we get comments from people say, hey, listen, great product, but I cannot use it on my bike, or it's too big to take with me on the bike, or and so we had to really dig into that and start changing a few things there. Germany, I said to Ted, and some of you were probably here already when the seminar started. We had this little chat. When we started doing our market research in Germany, the first response we get was that they say, "Well, guess what? We don't buy online," and that can easily block you off and say, "Well, okay, so there's no market." And what we did actually is we digged in deeper and we start doing more market research. And it turned out that they do buy online, but the Germans really are very technical and they want all the details. So they want a specification that's much more detailed. They want to know how big it is, how long it is, how heavy it is, etc., etc. And I can tell you from experience right now that when you do tell them the details they need to know, that they actually there is a market in Germany. One thing we learned in France was that the French are very fashionable. So all of a sudden, the way things come across fashionably is important. It's not fashionable enough, or it doesn't match my outfit or whatever. We never heard that in the US. So to us, the market insight really helped us to either change the products of the listings and the images towards what the market requests. For Germany, we actually even started a product development there because it turned out that they want to tweak on our product based on what the market there wants. And we saw the golden sample last week or week and a half ago. And within 5 or 6 weeks, we're going to launch a total new product in Germany based on our market research. And for us, we grew our business over 30% by expanding to Europe in this year. So we started in February, and there's a 30% growth already with our Europe expansion. And sometimes they really the results, the insights are really surprising you. I remember some of our customers said in the UK when we were talking to them, they say, your listing looked over polished and and they really said this, almost too American. And that comes across like phony, like not real. So we really have to tune down there as well. So market insight really gave us the insights of consumer insights that we need to adjust to the European countries, and to us, it's definitely the best thing we ever did. You can go to the next one, Ted. And we added, like I said before, what we do for ourselves, we also always roll that out to Intellivy and share that. So we added a lot of new marketplaces, and those are the marketplaces on the left you see who are new actually in this year, the last couple of months. And you can also see that in the Netherlands, we choose for bol.com. It's a total different e-com platform. It's not Amazon. And what we did for Germany is we added Kaufland Germany, which is actually bigger than Amazon there. So those are the new marketplaces we added to the Intellivy platform, and you can use those. We will use them also when we do the white glove experience for you to do the market research in those areas. And if you go to the next one, Ted, um, I put this in because when we were talking with Kaufland and we visited them, we've been at their office. We had there was this presentation, and they were announcing they're going to go to Italy and expanding to Italy and to France. So here's a typical German, I mean, true and true German e-com platform that say, hey, we see this expansion going on in Europe, and we are expanding our platform into different European countries. So it's not just us; it's really a moving something that's moving in this market, and we see that big players like Kaufland are already tapping into that as well. Allegro announced also that they want to expand to other European countries. EMAG has it in its statement for the year as a goal. So what you see is that other big e-com platforms are now expanding into different countries than where they are originally from. And to us, that only underlines the whole situation, what's going on in Europe, and also what people are wanting at the moment. Um, we go to the next one, Ted. I think
Just on that, just to
this,
add on that as well, I've spoken with Kaufland as well, and we're now an agency partner with them, helping brands on the platform. I think this is a key thing about Europe too, is this like slight fragmentation, I would guess, in terms of
yeah,
the marketplaces available. And so Amazon is definitely, I think, the one to be on broadly. But in the Netherlands, bol.com's bigger, Germany, Kaufland's bigger. So you've got to be aware of these, and plugging in to them is generally simpler than Amazon. Amazon is probably the most complicated in most cases, but they can really broaden your appeal, broaden your brand awareness, and there's a halo effect to all of this in terms of reaching new customers.
definitely. And actually, Ted, I think that like for instance in Germany, Kaufland is bigger than Amazon, but it's also more trusted. I mean, the
Mhm.
Germans trust the Kaufland much more over Amazon. So it's also and I think that's also why it's good for you and I to jump into this and help whoever wants to come to Europe. It's also looking for the right platform. I mean, we are most of us are used to the Amazon sales in US, so we also look at Amazon Germany. Sometimes we also, how do I say, build our judgment on that. Say, oh, Amazon Germany isn't that big, but when you look at the other marketplaces, they're sometimes much bigger. And I think they will keep expanding. I mean, France and Italy are announced. I remember being at their presentation and we get coffee with a macaron and tiramisu. And I said to one of my colleagues, okay, it's pretty obvious where they're going to expand to, but this is not the last expansion they're going to make. Definitely sure.
100%.
So that's kind of what we do. And for us, it's uh, we keep saying this. It's a big surprise. I mean, it was always a no-go. It was always like, okay, we don't go there. Europe is too small. It's not with the effort. That was our prejudgment. And we proved ourselves wrong by using our own tool and doing the market research that we did over the last couple of months. And launching to Europe, expanding to Europe is at this moment our biggest focus point.
Yeah, amazing. I'll run through some compliance bits now. Very exciting topic. And this segues in and plugs into what we would do as part of working together, and also plugging in with Intellivy. So you're as a seller, you're getting a really in-depth view on the market opportunity, the customer, and
Yeah,
then if there's a green light and you want to go, the next step is to look at your compliance side of things. So there's, I think, three areas to compliance or sort of that fall under the compliance umbrella. One is the tax and business registration side of things, to get your sort of, I guess, financial compliance in order. So you're looking at VAT, value added tax, which is equivalent to US sales tax. your OSS number, which is linked to your VAT, and then your EORI number, which is linked more to shipments and inventory movements. You've then
Mhm.
got business level compliance, so thinking about fiscal representation, importers of records, authorized representatives. We can act as some of those on your behalf, and we have partners in the logistics side of things who can also act as importers of record and things like that. So we can make that process as simple as possible for you. Where we would work very closely with the brands that we work with is on the product compliance side of things. So
Mhm.
this is going to be obviously completely specific to what you're selling. But there's various different bits to review and audit and then potentially apply for off the back of that to make sure that at a product level you're fully compliant. Amazon Amazon follow the rules very closely. And so even if on the day there's been some EU or UK government level change to one of these rules, it will filter through to Amazon immediately. And if you're on the wrong side of it, they'll block your listing or potentially your
Definitely.
potentially your account essentially straight away. And so being on top of this stuff is important. And again, we'd work with you on an ongoing basis to make sure you're on top of this at all times. Um, in terms of our method, then in a bit more detail, so we act as your partner, as I've said a few times. We work with you on all of that setup stuff, working with Intellivy on that data market access side of things, and then get you set up so that you can launch as hassle-free as possible. You will have to be involved. There's stuff that we would need from you to get you over the line, and decisions that we can advise you on, so you make them in the best possible way for your business. And
Mm.
then as and when you're up and live, we then can run your account for you. Our team is all European based. From the UK and France. Our head of account management's in Spain. Our head of ads is in the Netherlands from France as well. So we've got all bases, most of the languages covered. And yeah, we're well set up to lead you in these countries. Just as a little case study, this isn't one of our clients. This is a big US based supplement brand, not selling in the US. So just as a flavor of how we would think about this. So first of all, supplements, big red flag, they're an ingestible product. So there's going to be loads of things that we would need to look at from a compliance perspective, going as far down as like literally what's in it and what levels of whatever ingredients might be in there that maybe cause some issues in Europe. So we'd have to work very closely on that so that the client in this case was super clear on, okay, maybe they can't do certain products at all, or if they do, they need to reformulate them, and that's then a whole piece around
Mm.
manufacturing and that sort of thing. But there might be a smaller selection that they could launch with first. We'd then work with Intellivy on market research. So we'd be saying, okay, where is prenatal supplements growing? We look at keyword growth, whether there's subcategories and things linked to this sort of supplement, work out the size, work out the opportunity based on what sort of level of market share we think is achievable based on the level of investment the brand can put into things like advertising, DSP advertising as well, whether they're going D2C, building brand awareness on social media, all of that sort of thing to build a forecast, roughish forecast for what the opportunity is. And then we're holding your hand or their hand in this case all the way through the process of setup. So all that compliance stuff we'll file for them once we've got the information from them that we need. We'll set up the relevant
Mm.
business pieces they need. Let's say they decide on Germany, the UK, and France, then we'd apply for the VAT numbers there with their details, and then help them on the logistics side. So we work with partners locally in Europe, so we can get the product from wherever they're manufacturing, likely in the US as a supplement brand, into Europe and then into FBA from there. so that they're selling as quickly as possible. They can deal with returns. They can deal with all that logistic stuff very comfortably. I think I've been through this, but yeah, this is broadly the method, I guess, on the setup side. And yeah, I think that takes us to our offer, Martin. So this is a special offer that we're working on together. And essentially, what you're getting as a customer in this case would be a full poll-based review for your brand or account and the products that you're thinking of selling in the marketplaces of your choice, but with advice from us. So you might say, oh, I'm not interested in France, but we might say, actually, looking at some of the data and things, there is an opportunity here. Let's scope it out and see what we can do. And then from my side, you'll be getting some of that, yeah, non-customer based feedback data and review. So category sizes, CPCs, average CPCs for keywords, what keywords might be relevant and what can we go after, what sort of level of translation and things we might have to look at. All of that, so that you have a really clear view. Yeah, Martin, did you want to add anything to that?
Well, actually, I think, and obviously because we came up with it, but I think it's a wonderful offer. I told Ted when we were talking before the seminar started, for every project that we start, for every product that we want to launch in Europe, we have a whiteboard in our office, and it starts with $5,000 on it, and we say you have to spend $5,000 on polling before we launch. And actually, when you go through this whole thing, it's so, I mean, the offer we make, the 1,500 for the market opportunity, we do the exact same thing. So actually in the 1,500, there is like the 4K, 4.5K worth of value on polling in there. So it's not that we say we just run a poll. We run the polls we need to know to run to actually do what the same research we do when we do our own launches. So that's make the offer a wonderful opportunity actually to just figure out is there a match? If so, what country is the match making company for me? But also in which category? Like you said that perhaps you say, well, I don't even think for Spain or whatever, and we can tell you by polling this is a category that's very, very successful in Spain or very successful in Italy. So it's not just a couple of polls. It's quite a poll sequence that we run there to get you started and to give you the real market insight that you need for to base your actually decision upon where you want to go to.
Yeah, so I'd be pretty confident to say that by the end of it, you'd have a very clear idea on where to launch and when
Definitely.
where not to launch as well, which is important. We're saving you money long term and avoiding any bad decisions. If we open up to some questions now,